We're good.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll come back into open at 1:02 p.m. Pursuant to the Community Safety and Policing Act, which came into effect on April 1st, 2024, our Police Service Board had the opportunity to consider whether to close part of the meeting and state by resolution that it would do so. We did that earlier today. We had those meetings, and we are now coming back into our public session. So I just want to say welcome and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us both in person and online. For everyone's information, Member Morgan is joining us online virtually, and Member Lehman, unfortunately, is not able to join us this afternoon due to some previous commitments, but he did pass along his regrets, excuse me. And just before we get started, I also want to note for the record that Chief Trong is away today, and Deputy Chief Trina McSween is acting on his behalf. A little bit of housekeeping right off the start as well. In lieu of our September 18th board meeting, we will be holding a public budget meeting on September the 11th. This is part of refining how we review and present financial information moving forward, and more details will be made a week before that meeting. But just for everyone in the room and online, there will be no regular September 18th board meeting. Our next regular board meeting will be in October, but we will have a full board finance specific meeting on September the 11th. I'll look to the members of the board for any disclosures of interest. Seeing none, any introduction of new business? Okay. So any introduction of new business? Seeing none, can I have approval of the minutes from our last public meeting? Moved by Vice Chair Branscombe. Can I have a seconder? Member Faulkner. Is there any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes as published? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to 2.1 on the agenda, policy approval. And I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Stephanie Johansson, for an overview on the recommended policies that are up for approval, both relating to the Chief's Gala and Section 81.
Okay, so I know this is the governance stuff in the way of the K9 presentation, so I'll try and keep it short. So in this report, we have 3 policies that are being put forward to the board for approval and adoption. The chair and I discussed, and I'm just going to go through each of them, and at the end, just if anybody has any questions, and then proceed with the motion. So the first 2 are as a result of the Maloney inquest. So this has come forward publicly as well in previous meetings where we've provided updates. But one of the recommendations was for the board to have policies around Section 81 reporting. So there are 2 policies with respect to this. One of them is a governance policy that will be going in the board's governance manual. So it outlines the expectations on the board when it comes to Section 81 reporting. And the second policy is the board's overarching policy for the expectations on the service when it comes to this. So there's those 2. And the third policy is the okay, so it's called the Fundraising, Sponsorship, and Distribution of Proceeds Policy for the annual Chief's Gala. So this is a policy that's been put together by the governance committee with respect to the annual Chief's Gala. The purpose of having this is to ensure some transparency. It's meant as a broad overarching policy and a bit of a stopgap while the board explores the possibility of a foundation at some point in the future. It's just to have some checks and balances in place in terms of the sponsors and the distribution of proceeds. So those are the 3 policies before us.
Perfect. Members? Questions on the policies? Look online. Morgan? Oh, good. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the following motion on the floor, and then we're going to look for a mover and a seconder, since I can't do that for the chair. That the London Police Service Board approve and adopt the following policies effective immediately. Number 1, board governance policies, oversight and risk management, Section 81 reporting. Number 2, board organizational policies and standards for the London Police Service, investigative adequacy standards, section 81 reporting. And number 3, board organizational policies and standards for the London Police Service, governance and administration, annual Chiefs Gala fundraising sponsorships, annual Chiefs Gala fundraising, sponsorship, and distributions of proceeds policy. Can I have someone move that motion, please? Member Stevenson, seconded by Vice Chair Branscombe. Any comments? Yes.
Tell people what section 81 is,
Yeah, maybe I'll actually turn that over to operations.
because that's just it's a number.
Yeah, you make a good point.
I'll turn that one over. Yeah, so we'll go to Deputy Guilford, please.
I'm gonna look to the lawyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, it just occurred to me, it's
You're
not
right.
written in here anywhere, what section 81.
Right, so a section 81 report, through you, Chair, my apologies. Section 81 report is upon the conclusion of an SIU investigation. So the third-party civilian oversight board of police conduct, looking for criminal conduct of police, they might invoke depending on their mandate. When they've concluded their report or their investigation, they will report back to our own internal professional standards branch, which will then report to the board on the outcome of that SIU investigation. And that report to the board is required by the chief under section 81 of the chief's governing legislation, the Community Safety and Policing Act.
Those will be a lot of the reports for the public's awareness that Deputy Bastine normally presents and follow up, and that are usually in our package quite frequently. So for their awareness purposes. Thank you for that, Director McKinnon. Are there any other questions?
Just a comment.
And I promise I won't come to Deputy Guilford. It's a good test. It's a good test. We'll see what your law skills are like. Sorry, Member Stevenson.
I was just gonna say thanks for all the work done on these policies. It's good.
Perfect. So we have a motion on the floor. One last call for any comments, questions. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. So our next one is section 2.2 under governance and oversight, which is policy and procedure complaint coast report. And Executive Director Johansson has included a cover report that outlines the board's obligations in responding to policy and process complaints. And I'll turn it over to her to provide a few thoughts and overview on our process regarding policy and procedure complaints. And following that, then I will be turning it over just to give him a heads up on something that he will not talk about. It's Deputy Guilford.
Sorry, and the section 81 is outlined in the policy itself. I just had to scroll down to find it. So in terms of the coast complaint, so this is as a result of the first policy and procedure complaint that we have received from the Inspector of Policing under the new act. So the board had to establish an effective procedure to deal with these complaints. They're dealt with in the public realm. And currently, the process is that upon receipt of one of these complaints, it triggers an automatic investigation, a written report from the chief to be provided in the public realm to provide context to the board in terms of, how the complaint relates to the services, procedures, and policies. So the board shall review the report back and determine if its review of the complaint can be concluded or if further action is required, and then provide a formal response with its decision to the Inspector General. So I will turn it over to Deputy Guilford after to provide sort of a bit more context around the service side of things. So after that, it's up to the board to consider whether the obligation under the policies has been fulfilled in ensuring that the standard operating procedures have been developed in relation to the COAST program that address police responses to persons with mental illness. And the board has seen the complaint. It's not in this package due to privacy reasons and just sort of omitting that part of it from the public realm for identification purposes. But I will turn it over to.
I'll turn it over to Deputy.
I think I'll get there.
It's fine, all right. No problem. First of all, before I turn it over to Deputy Guilford, any questions for the members for the Executive Director? All right, seeing none, Deputy Guilford, the floor.
Thank you, and Chair, for you. Just by way of review, so this incident happened in September of last year, involving one of our members that's with the COAST team, the community outreach and support team. As we know, they are out in the community with mental health professionals and doing great work with our community. There was a complaint that came in conduct complaint that came in on that member. And at the same time, there were complaints that were sent out to the law enforcement complaints agency as well as the inspector of policing. So our professional standards branch conducted a thorough complaint there. There was nothing substantiated from that initial complaint. That then was reviewed by the director at LECA. And again, nothing was found to be anything wrong by the officer's conduct that was committed during that investigation. Which left with the inspector of policing. Now, again, their mandate is to look at policy procedure. Is it robust enough? Is it thorough? Does it give our officers enough guidance to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis? So that was looked at as well by our professional standards branch. And they concluded that the relevant procedure and position description specifically to the coast, our community outreach and support team were sufficient to provide, to guide London Police Service members in their response to individuals in crisis, and identified no gaps needing to be addressed or other areas requiring amendments. And just to point out as well that these our procedures are reviewed routinely, and these are due to be reviewed again in 2027, just to see if they need to be built up more or changed or altered. Report to Art.
Thank you. Deputy, questions, members?
Just, could you tell what LECA stands for?
Yeah, Law Enforcement's Complaint Agency. So they're a provincial body oversight, has nothing to do with this police service at all. They're independent and designed specifically for that, for complaints that come into the public, that they will ensure that the investigations are done properly.
Other questions?
I'd like to make the motion.
Sure.
I'd like to make the motion that the London Police Service Board conclude its review of the complaint. Number 2, ensure that the relevant policies are incorporated into its policy review process. And 3, advise the Inspector General of Policing of the outcome, including a copy of the report received from the chief.
So a motion on the floor moved by Vice Chair Branscombe, seconded by Member Stevenson. Comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Moving right along, we're going to move into item number 3, the K9 unit presentation and report that has been presented by Deputy Guilford. And just before I turn it over to you for a brief introduction, I just wanted to say for the public's awareness that you may be seeing more and more presentations from some of our specialized units coming into board meetings. It's been our request to invite as many people in as possible to give the public more knowledge about these great units that we have and the important work that our police service does. A lot of people think, they're pulling people over, arresting bad people as well. Yes, that's part of the job, but there's so much more when it comes to a service the size of London and being one of the big 12. So we really appreciate them taking time to come in, and we will continue this series, so to speak, over the next several months. And I did also just want to say on that, we appreciate the engagement of the service coming to the board meetings, taking time out of their day. We have the LPA that's always in our meetings as well, which we appreciate having a good relationship with them. And that's really what this board is trying to do, is to try to show that while we are the governance arm, that it's all ends working together to make sure that our city is as safe as possible. So with that, I'll turn it over to Deputy Guilford for a brief introduction, and then I think we're really looking forward to seeing a theme. So
yeah, that's great. Thank you again, Chair, through you. Just to reiterate what you said, our K9 unit does a great job out there day after day with their police service dogs, and just a great service to this community. They do have the opportunity to go to community events and share what they do, but this is yet another avenue where they can get that message out for the citizens of London to be able to see the great work that they do. So without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Acting Superintendent David Pratt of the Uniform Division to introduce his team. Let me say that.
Thanks, Desmond. First of all, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Travis Winchester from the K9. He'll be conducting the presentation. Also in the room is Staff Sergeant Paul Devlin. He is the Staff Sergeant in the Emergency Support Section. Sergeant Stanley, who is another K9 Sergeant training, and Constable Broughton with his PSD service dog, Coda. So that'll be the star of the show. So go ahead, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Travis Winches. I'm a sergeant here in K9. First off, I speak really, really quickly. I'm gonna try to slow it down. So I usually this presentation at 90 minutes, but I'm gonna try to get into 10. So if I go too fast, just please say Travis, just stop. That makes sense, okay? I said Coda's here. He's just gonna be back there. I'll move around a little bit for you if you wish to see him. He is working right now, so I'll try not to pet him unless you ask Officer Broughton if you can. Later on, we can do that. That makes sense? Okay. So, real quick. Our unit's one of the oldest ones in the province. 1972 is when it started, with only 4 members, with 1 car, and trained on a farm. So, the only other older one, I think, is OPP, and they're at their 60-year anniversary this year. So, a lot of history with us. What we do is we provide support to the frontline members, as well as special teams like CID and now ERU. We're a search and locate tool, right? Search and locate tool, and also use the force option as well. So that's what we do from a general patrol. We don't have 24/7 coverage yet. We are close to it, but we are out there as much as possible, usually in two team units. But of course, holidays we get a little short. Let me quickly go through here. So here's our team now. So we have myself and the master trainer. So I'll get into that differently a different time. It's an extensive thing on how I get my master trainer designation. Sergeant Stanley is new this year. He came over, experienced dog handler of 9 years. He assists with the training. He's also assigned a patrol and explosives dog. My dog is just explosives. He just does explosives, single purpose dog. Then we have 6 teams, 6 patrol teams that each dog is training, tracking. I'll go through them in a second. But he's on patrol. They also have a secondary duty. So either going to be a detection duty is what it's called. So they're going to be either narcotics and firearms, or it's going to be explosives. So one or the other. You can't have both. So that's how it works. So 6 out there, they're in teams of 2. Right now they shadow the ERU teams with their schedule. So they're out there with the same schedule they're out, and they patrol. So what that means, I'm going to go through disciplines. As I said, I do this thing in 90 minutes, so I can't go over all of the intricacies on what each thing, how I train it, and something else. But if you wish to know more about it, reach out, and I'll be glad to go and talk to people on a more lengthy basis on what we do. Okay, tracking. You guys all see on social media what tracking is. This looks like right here. So the dog is in a harness, which Coda has on right now, and the handler has a long 30-foot line that's attached to him. Tracking is a dog's way to obviously track a person through human scent and crushed vegetation and disturbed dirt. Okay, it's great for court. It's great for people in crisis because it goes footprint to footprint. Is how I would describe it. So a dog with a nose to the ground, he will go footprint to footprint until he gets to the strongest source, which is going to be either the suspect or the person in crisis. Very straightforward. Great for court. A lot of things factor. Weather's going to factor in there because the scent's got to stay on the ground. People contaminating the area because tracking is, we get to a scene, is the point last scene is where we start. So the dog will stay on that scent until it gets to the end, right? But there's people running around, there's multiple scents. Tracking may not be ideal. Okay, if tracking is not ideal, then we work in air scent searching. Okay, what that is, that's just straight human scent, no crushed vegetation. That's the dog will use the wind current to locate the strongest source, which is going to be the person, right? That could be someone hiding in a shed, could be someone hiding in a tree, it could be someone hiding in a building, right? The dog uses it to not nose the ground, but uses the air currents, however it may be, outside, inside, to get to the strongest source, which is going to be the person. Okay. To use those 2 things, tracking and air scenting, we need to be trained in agility and obedience. Okay, so dog has to be trained to go over a 7-foot wall. He has to be able to climb ladders. He has to be able to stand on walkways, railway tracks, bridges, all those things. So we train on those. They certify every year in agility for them to make sure they can get to those, use air scenting, and use tracking. Okay, obedience is something that this dog is doing right now. So obviously the handler has the most control of his dog through verbal commands. That's obviously very, very, very important. So obedience is big. Whichever control his dog Coda just by using his voice wherever he may be, right? That's obviously one of the most important things. Control of your dog is what we strive on the most. We also have explosive detection and firearms control. So, sorry, firearms and control substance. So explosive is pretty straightforward. It's pretty extensive. I think it's 34 odors the dog's trained in. And he gives me a passive indication, which means you're going to sit or lay down. Are we getting used a lot for explosives? Yes, we have the airport, we have the convention center, we have the I don't know what's called now, the old Budweiser Gardens. We have all those big buildings and the university to do sweeps for dignitaries come in or whatever it may be. Calls themselves, it's sad to say, we're getting more and more to be able to clear certain buildings and try to find devices. Now, firearms and drugs, super busy. One of our dogs last year was responsible for almost $1.2 million in product in 8 firearms. That's one dog. And we have 4 that are trained in firearms and narcotics. So very, very, very important and very often used by our CID department, guys on the road, those type of things. Sad to say, yes, there's lots of guns in the city. And it's nice to have a dog and stuff we can't see or find, the dog can find, right? That's why we use them quite a bit. So awesome for him to get that number, but 8 guns, and that's a lot. So the only thing we didn't have on there was evidence searching. So crime scenes, our dogs are trained to indicate on items that are discarded with human scent. So if Travis is the bad guy and I get involved in stabbing and I spill the knife somewhere in the woods, the dogs are trained to go and find something with human scent. This room this size, you're gonna put all your public order people in here, you're gonna put in 30 officers to clear this room, the dog can do it in less than probably 2 minutes. Right, so really, really key. I can go into stories, different story, different day. We'll go into different how they actually did it really, really well, but that's just evidence or any discard, even keys from a stolen car, that type of stuff, not just weapons, but those type of things. So anything with human scent on, the dog indicates, and then we use it for evidence for the case. So this is a big one. Yes, we use dogs because of their nose, because of their speed, but also because they can apprehend people that this old guy can't go and catch, right? So the dogs are trained to apprehend and very strict guidelines that we have as our standards. We target only arms and legs, limbs, and they're trained for a 1 bite, final bite. So what that means is the dog's trained to bite you 1 time and hold on to you until the old guy gets there and be able to make an arrest, right? That's kind of how suspect apprehension works. It's something we don't want to do every day, but it's something that the subject usually is the one that's going to dictate if we do that. Makes sense? So in saying all those things that we do, our team, our dog teams and our officers is obviously the Ontario Public Police Interaction called use of force wheel, still wheel. We use this all the time. This is the wheel that the dog is in there the entire time, right? So you think about the outside ring, the conflict prevention, de-escalation. Sometimes the dog is being on ground will cause a de-escalation. That person may give up or surrender. It happens all the time, right? So right from the whole ring, then they go into the non-verbal verbal. Once again, the dog there may have the non-verbal, may have the person give up. The warning we give out before we enter buildings, before we send our dogs, is a verbal warning that the subject may say, okay, I'm going to de-escalate, I'm going to stop this right now, right? That's the dog fits into this. Awesome. They all see it as they go in the intermediate weapons. All we see is a bite thing that the dog only does is in this area here, but not at all. In physical control, yes, but the guy's passive, he's hiding in the closet. The dog's there, the dog's trained to go and bark at their closet until the handler can get there safely and effect the arrest, right? Only time we get into this part here, lethal force, we don't use our dogs in lethal force, but they're on ground during those situations, right? So our dogs are trained under gunfire, all those type of things where the dog may be sent when gunfire is going off. So they could be in that little section as well. But this is always with here. The handler's in here all the time. The handler has to decide, they assess, they plan, they act with this tool. It's just a tool that we have, that we use, but they need to get in there and they have to understand it may change, right? This guy now giving up to a dog may never be required, or he's now progressed to this. Okay, now the dog is going to get sent on apprehension, right? So this is a great thing for, well, the only thing that involved in the entire wheel is the use of force option, use the entire thing, okay? Any report I did for you that Deputy Chief Guilford gave you, it shows that average used over 2% a year for the apprehension. The apprehension means bite, right? It's not just I'm apprehending you, it's actually the dog is going to bite. That's what the numbers are, just over 2%. These are more stats that we have. We went back the past 5 years. Okay, so we started it. COVID's around 2021, right? So at that point, our deployment numbers are less because our officers weren't on the road as much, right? And no one was outside, so everybody calls for service more than the day. You see the spike come in 2024 for our canine deployments. A deployment is the dog gets out of the car, the dog is doing something he's trained to do. It could be just there as a de-escalation tool. It could be tracking, it could be air searching, it could be article searching or detection. All those ones I gave you, he could be somewhere he's doing one of those things. So a huge spike in how many times we deploy the dogs. Many factors in there. It could be the fact where we were at full complement in 2024, right? We have all of our 6 dogs are on patrol, right? We've increased our training for the past 3 years. We do a lot more when it comes to certain types of tracking. Plus, we've also reached out to the bigger agencies as well. The other 12, we now jointly train with OPP, Peel, York, Durham, to see what everyone else is doing, how their tactics are changing, how they are training the dogs to go over certain obstacles or it may be. So we're actually deploying the dogs more, I think, with confidence with our handlers. And we've also now integrated more with the actual constables on the road. So in-service training, our dogs are now doing presentations and involved with the use of force training and whatever else search we want to use. So under the police officers on the road understand the capabilities of the asset that the dogs can get, right? So now we're getting called more. People are calling for canine more. People are like, hey, I can use a dog for this as opposed to me trying to search. Let's use the dog. So now the dogs are getting deployed more, which is awesome because it gives us a distance tool and reactionary time for officers to patrol safely and deal with high-risk situations, right? I'm going too fast? Okay, good.
Great job.
So we're now integrating with our tactical unit, Staff Sergeant Devlin. The dogs are now with our TAC team more as a search tool. Code has a camera on him. He's a search tool. He's a less lethal option, right? So on the road right now, if you are outside of 8 to 10, 12 feet where the taser distance is, less lethal option is not there. That's the dog's for it. The dog gives you that one more reactionary thing, one more thing where it's a violent situation. All we have is him as a distance, unless you're attacking, you have something different. But we have the dogs around patrol. They are a search tool that can be done at a distance, a safe distance. Okay, so we're doing more training with more units within the service. They understand what we're doing more, which is great. We're trying to reach out to them more. Okay, we can help you here and make things safer and quicker and more efficient. Arrest rates, right? So 2,400 calls, the record year for us. Once again, people are calling for us more. We're on patrol more. We're going to more calls. The guys are out there and girls are out there patrolling and going to calls where they see they can help. They're not just all dog calls. They can go and do any call. I can help you. And if you need help for a call, I can help you. The dog may not be used, but I'm still a police officer. So I still get to go and help. That's why we're good up there in our call volume, right? And we're at full capacity. So full capacity is, I said 16, but if a dog goes down injury or a handler gets injured, then we're short in holidays. Or if I have to retrain a dog, it takes me 4 months to train a dog. That's a lot. So a couple of these years I did 3 dogs in 2023. So that's a lot of time off the road and short. So the call numbers could affect that. We should be up to full speed by the end of the year again, which let me get back at it, but I can't predict dogs getting injured or handlers getting injured, right? Increase in arrests. Yep. We do a lot of arrests, which is awesome. That's what we want. Oh, that's it. No question slide. All right. So that was, sorry, that was fast. I went through a lot. I think that's really, really quick.
You really condensed that down. So that was extremely well done. So actually, if I can ask you to stick around.
Absolutely.
There could be some questions. So, and I have a feeling there will be. So Vice Chair Branscombe.
Thank you very much. This is very exciting for me. I'm a member of the dog club. I have 5 dogs. So, I think it's amazing. I wanted to know, are they all shepherds?
No. So we have German Shepherds. He's a code of Belgian Malinois and a Belgian Malinois Shepherd mix. So amongst those 3 is what we tend as on the police.
And is that the same most everywhere?
Most everywhere across the country.
Where they're easier to train, they're shorter, like what did choose them?
So the success rate of these dogs for what we want to, for the drive that we want to have in them, the searching abilities and the loyalty and to be able to do everything we ask for. Shepherds and Malinois are the across the country and across the world pretty much use the most.
Okay. And I know you referred to he all the time. Are there female dogs or are they all?
We don't have any female dogs.
They're all, and is that standard too?
No, there are some services that have female dogs. The reason we don't is we share cars for the dogs. So I don't need to have a dog get confused if a female stands in the car. That's why we tend to stay away from it. There's nothing to do with.
The dogs are
female.
still good.
And they don't come for sale very often because they use them for breeding. That's usually it.
That's all for now.
Yes, Member Stevenson.
Thank you very much. This was very interesting. And I noticed you said 4 months to train a dog.
Yeah.
Ideally, how long would they be in service?
So anywhere 6 to 9 years or so, depending on the health. Like, remember, they're jumping fences, they're working shifts. Some dogs have professors have bad hips those type of things. But usually it's, Coda's 8 years old, so he's been on the road for 7. And we usually get him around a year, and that takes 4 months training. That's just the patrol training. Then it's 10 weeks after that. The next year, I'll train him in the detection profile. So it's a lot of training. Plus, then we have every week we train. Every Wednesday, they train with me and Andrew, Garden Family. So they come in, they train to keep up their competencies. And then we also have 40 hours in spring and 40 hours in the fall. We just do scenario-based training. And then we also do recertifications for all the disciplines. And we take care of our own use of force. I'm use of force instructor, so I do all of our use of force and all of our recertifications for our team. So it's a lot of training they go through. It's a lot. So you have to have it.
Yeah, follow up. What's the biggest challenge in your department?
In the department? Yeah. Training sites. That's the biggest for us. It's hard to. No, it's not just, and so my job and Andrew's job is to make sure that the handler and the dog are ready for a real world, right? They're ready for a real world, and you can't do real world training unless you have places to do it. Even that is still control. So it's hard to mimic what I want them to do on the road, because dogs can't talk. I can't speak dog. So I don't know what makes him apprehensive of some things or makes him tick. So I guess I need to have certain environments to mimic the real world. So I guess what the first time he goes into a river, whatever it may be, he gets scared. I need to have, not saying don't bias a river, so I'm doing. There's no hesitation there for the dog and the handler. So training sites is probably the biggest obstacle for us. I see. There's lots of them. That's a big.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, we definitely had a new budget, but the river. So what the other? Yes.
What happens when they're, you said they're 8 or 9 years, so what happens after?
Okay, good question. So let's just use Officer Brown and Coda. So he gets picked through an extensive process. I pick Officer Brown, and I have a dog selected for training. They go together and they work together for their entire career. Dog goes home. Dog is part of their family. Dog lives outside. He doesn't sleep on the couch. Dog lives outside, and he plays. He loves life. And then they retire. The handler has the option to take ownership of the dog, because you guys own the dogs until then. Takes ownership of the dog, and then he retires with that handler. Right. That's good.
It's if they don't decide to take ownership.
So they don't take ownership. There's other agencies, not-for-profit agencies in the province that will take military dogs or dogs in such situation where they can live their life out doing sport work or something like that. Right.
First, good question. I have a couple.
So
So what do you think that would be a reasonable capacity for a unit for a service the size of London when it comes to canine? Like ideally, what do you think how many handlers and dogs should we have as a service?
So right now we have 6, and it's not enough. I see we don't have 24/7 coverage. So
How do we get there?
ideally, and we're going the right direction. So us training with Staff Sergeant Devlin's team, as I said, 2 dogs follow each team, and then to follow the next team, they increase again, and then we can attach to a section. So I think minimum start would be 2 more. Remember, there's things that we don't have the capabilities of yet. So let's say a search and rescue dog, we don't have. OPP has it. We don't have cadaver dogs. Those are 2 good things we don't have. We don't have data dogs are a new thing in the province now. It's a whole different thing. There's a ton of different detections out there that we can use that we just don't have the dogs for it. Because dogs can only do 2. They can only do patrol and they can only do 1 detection. So the reason I can do 1 detection is I can't. So my dog Carl sits on that bag there. He's an explosive dog. A little different reaction than if the drug dog sits on that bag there, right? Then one's going to go boom and one's going to go to court. So 2 different things. So I can only do 1 discipline for detection, and there's so many different detections out there that we can do. So 2 more be a good start.
And sorry to interrupt, Chair. Can you just also talk about the difficulty in getting dogs?
Okay, so we used to, it's hard and it's expensive. So most dogs still come from overseas over Europe, just because of the lineage, and it's just something that we've all the police services and the teams across the country and the continent really have done. And so I'll get breeders in Holland or wherever, and then the brokers will go down, pick up these dogs, they bring them back. I go down, I test dogs, and someone else goes down and test dogs. But there's only 10 dogs to test, and there's 10 agencies, really. And dogs aren't like buying a car, where cars mass produce and sell the same. You get the odd lemon, But, you get like, our dogs, you don't know, so you get like genetics, right? You don't know what are you gonna have all of a sudden 6 months or 5 weeks down the course, like, this dog's afraid of trains. That's no good. I don't want that. So it's hard to get dogs. It's hard to find them when you're getting them younger and younger. We used to get them at like 16 months or so. Now I selected these last 2 dogs. They were just a year. So, and expensive, and everybody wants them. So people are still going to the United States of America to get dogs because that's where they have the most selection of dogs. But I might go down to Alabama and I don't spend, sorry, sir, $20,000 on a dog and bring them back. It's a big investment. So it's hard to get good dogs, hard to get good breeding programs. Winnipeg does a breeding program at RCMP, those services, and then you talk to them, it's extremely difficult and extremely low percentage of actually success. So it's really hard to get dogs.
Thank you for that. And
Yep.
my other question would be, I guess, let's talk about the officers, the ones that are handling the dogs.
Yep.
Well, Sergeant Stanley, I see back there. Actually, I was on a ride along with him and his team when he was out on patrol, and I remember sitting with him and having a conversation. He's like, "I'm looking to get back to K9. It's good to see you back at K9." So let's chat about kind of how you identify which officers would be best with the dogs. I'm sure it's not everyone to just come in and be a K9 handler.
No, it's hard, and it should be hard. You have to have minimum 5 years on the job, and you have to submit your application with all your competencies to your boss, and they go through the HR, and they get scanned, and it gets graded by a panel of people, right? If you pass that application process, then you get moved into the physical stage. Right? So the physical stage is a test that we run, which is a pretty standard physical, and anyone can access it. It's you have to wear a heavy vest, you have to go around obstacles for a certain amount of time, do certain obstacles, keep on going. So it's a pretty standard test, similar to the tactical test. It's timed. Right, the same time for male, female, because you're doing the job, you have the same vest on, same obstacles for everybody, certain time, pass, fail. You pass that one, then you get to go into a next test that we run, which also is more of it's a patrol-based test. So it's a scenario, like an obstacle course type of thing at nighttime, but it's more of a scenario. So you get all your stuff, and then you go out and you have to go through and navigate through the woods and stuff like that. And you deal across different obstacles and different questions you have to answer. Those things. So I test you on how you act under stress. That's very great. That's great as well. Use the forces in there. So we are with the tactical team and with the training branch. So we make the test together, make it fair for everyone. Nothing that's not trained as a canine handler. You're trained as a patrol officer dealing with a high stress situation, which is what our guys and girls do. It's they're dealing with the high stress, low frequency calls all the time. And we have to make sure that the people that we select have that ability to be able to work under stress, right? And then once they pass that, then they go with the interview process. So the interview process, obviously it's created by us. It's pretty straightforward. A panel of 4 of us ask interviews, and then they pass pretty straightforward policy stuff. Not as a canine handler, just more of a person and a police officer. They pass that. Then they have to do an inspection of their home and talk to their families, right? Because as we said, the dogs go home with the handlers every day, which means work comes home. There's no sense. I'm not just coming home and I get to shut off. I come home and Coda's with me. Okay. And work comes home. So guess what? It's a big stress on the families. They're on call all the time because we don't have 24/7 coverage. They get called up a lot. They get on overtime a lot. The dog gets tired. It's a big commitment. So I speak to the families, make sure they're understanding the commitment, how it goes. And then from there, we start our 16-week course. It's 4 months of that. And if they pass that, they go on the road with me and myself or Andrew for a couple blocks. And they'll shadow senior guy. They'll be attached to the senior guy's team, and then they'll keep getting evaluated. So it's a big process. It's a high risk spot with a lot of liability and risk management to it.
I thank you for that very detailed explanation. And I guess my last question for you is that maybe you can just talk about without getting into too many operational aspects of it, because I understand the sensitivity around that. But you mentioned just for the public's awareness, these dogs aren't lounging on your couch or on your bed at home. So maybe you can just kind of talk about kind of what that's like when you mentioned you bring the work home. So like how does that work for the officers?
Okay, so when the dog comes home, we still want him to relax. We still want him to be not just a dog. He's not walking in dog parks. Like he's still a police dog. They sleep in their kennels outside. These kennels they're really awesome. They have like an insulated area. They can sleep when it's cold. They sleep outside. The reason we do that is because they're bred to be in the wild. They need to be acclimatized to all the temperatures out there. Okay. If my dog goes in the house every day and lays on the couch, I get him in the house to go search for an arm fella, and he goes lays on the couch. That's no good, right? Or he's shivering next to the handler shit ready for sure. That's not good either. I need the dogs to be able to be climatized and to be able to go to work. When it's time to go to work, and they know when it's time to go to work. Say it's time to go to work, they jump in the kennel in the truck and they're ready to go. They're excited. So that coming home and them being at home, they're treated really, really well. Our service treats them amazing. They give them everything they need. Great vet, great food. Then they come home, they have great kennels at home they live in, and they have a good 8 years. You get treated really well for the 8 years or 9 years of it.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I guess one final question, what should the public be considering when you're out on the road? So when they see the canine vehicle, they see you parked there, they see you with the dog, maybe you can just talk about that briefly, because I think everyone's reaction is immediately dog, right? And
Yep.
to go through it. So maybe you can kind of talk about the rules of engagement.
Okay, so and I usually cover it when we do our community engagements, which we're unfortunately we turn down some of them because we don't have the manpower. I like to talk to people. We like to be spoken to, right? Are you gonna go, as I said before, are we gonna go pet the police dog? No. You can ask, sir, can I talk to you about your dog? Absolutely. You can look at it from a distance. But when they're working, we have no problem. We love it when kids come talk to us, people come talk to us, ask us about the dogs, ask about his dog, how old he is. We have trading cards we hand out to people and say, this is what he is. This is Carl. He's 6 years old. He likes to smell bombs, that type of stuff. So they like to have that, and we should, right? Like these dogs are awesome. As I said through all the stats before, we're not biting everyone. We're only there. We're like, these dogs are awesome. They're fantastic dogs and they're trained really well. Like we train these dogs really, really well and they're fun to watch. I get amazed by them when they do certain things. So, and then the community come and ask us many questions. If you see us at a public demo, absolutely come. If you see me, for sure, come talk. I ask you to tell you anything you want.
Perfect. We bring code up.
Sure. All right, Trev. So let's go. So I'm gonna quickly talk while you're doing this. So Coda is wearing a vest that we went to last year. It actually has ballistic integrity, which is good. It's the first time we've actually carried our dogs have been patrolling with ballistic protection on their bodies. It's also, you can see the camera that's on there, so that's more for searching for the tactical team. We have a remote. Andrew has a remote with him. He can watch the TV camera. And so what's good about these vests that Coda has on, the front part there actually has a added protection. So when they jump over fences, they don't get impaled by things that are sitting on the other side of the fence. So you can pick them up. They're have capabilities to repel from buildings. So he's really receptive to Trev. Trev, can you leave him down this walk? So the dog is trained out to listen to Trevor, everything he says. Trevor can walk around, and obviously this point we don't pet the dog, but he's trained to stay down, stay. He stays there until Trevor can call him. You call him every once in a while. Yep. So. My dogs.
No. I'm gonna bring him to Lord.
There, perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Trev.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We have to thank you very much. We really, really appreciate this. Thank you for being here today. And yeah, that was the star of the show right there. You were great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we will need a motion for that one where we'll receive that presentation. And once again, thank you for coming. Allow me to clear the room for a moment. Exactly. You did great.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. It's awesome. All right. Well, this point meeting won't be nearly as exciting, so we'll get in. We will get into the verbal updates. And I just wanted to mention that Vice Chair Branscombe and I, as well as the Chief and Deputy McSween and many other members of the service, attended the annual Pride Parade. We also had Member Stevenson on the board's behalf attend our most recent swearing in and promotion ceremony, which Mr. Kerdner was able to attend, which is great. Again, we'll keep swearing those officers in and fulfilling our commitment to the community to put that record budget investment right into where it matters on the street, responding to calls and making sure that we continue to improve our service delivery standards. Myself and the executive director, Member Stevenson, just returned from Victoria, where we attended the Canadian Association of Police Governance Conference, and it was absolutely a fantastic conference with many great presentations, including one by Paul Brandt. Many people know him from his music career. But he's also, him and his wife have started a foundation, Not My Hometown, which targets human trafficking and really brings awareness to that is very aware of things going on in London, is very aware of our chief as well, and had many good things to say. So that was, again, a really good learning opportunity where all different police boards from around Canada to come together. I just want to reiterate once again that we will not have a September 18th board meeting. It'll be on the 11th, which will be strictly around the budget and finance related. And it's about enhancing our transparency and processes around our budget, which ultimately gets reported into the City of London for their multi-year budget. And on that, I think I will leave it there for me, and I'll turn it over to Executive Johansson for.
Okay, just two quick updates on my end. As the chair mentioned, I was at the Canadian Association of Police Governance Conference. I also attended the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police Conference. And it was really interesting to see that, more governance people are starting to attend the operational side of things and vice versa. Just sort of, along the line of thought of developing an understanding of both sides. And the second quick update is, today there were 3 policies that came forward for approval and adoption. There are more coming forward, and they'll slowly start trickling out for approval. There is a priority list of policies that need to be dealt with sooner rather than later, but there will be more of that in coming months.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And actually, just before I go to Deputy McSween, I did also want to note that the mayor, myself, and member Lehman were at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in actually for all of us, all different capacities. But in one of our delegations, actually, we did speak with Minister Kersner, who we talked about London, and we talked about the work that's being done there. And he also alluded to the fact that our classes that are going to the OPC, the Ontario Police College, for those who don't know the acronym, are expanding, and they're hearing that really good things are happening. So I just wanted to mention that as well, that the work of the service and the people who are doing it day in and day out is noticed by many. And on that point, I will turn it over to our acting chief, Deputy McSween.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Yeah, we've been very busy here at London over the last months. The last board meeting, as you noted. On July 31st, we swore in 17 new recruits. We had 5 new special constables that were officially badged, and then we celebrated several promotions. We were really privileged to have Minister Kersner join us on that day. That was amazing that he was able to find time and schedule to come down to London. We really appreciated that. And that at the time was the biggest recruit class for London in the history of London. But the next class, as you have mentioned, we actually have been able to secure 20 seats for the next intake, which is amazing for us. So we're getting our numbers back up to where they should be. So we're really happy with that as well. Over the last few weeks, we've had members at the 63rd Day of Independence for Jamaica. We celebrated Rookie League. The Hindu community once again came to the station here to celebrate Raksha Bandhan, where they tie bracelets on our officers and our civilian members. And they say a prayer for protection and safety, which we always appreciate. It's always a great day. Fiesta Extravaganza just happened this weekend. We had members on both Saturday and Sunday. Korean Liberation Day was attended by Deputy Guilford, along with London's Interfaith Collective was another day we attended as well. And then just this week, we have been making it practice to attend citizenship ceremonies here in London. It's an amazing event. Anyone who it's open to the public. And members of our police service have gone, I think, 6 times now, and that we're going to host another one in the future. And we were really happy to be there because one of our own London police members actually became a Canadian citizen last Tuesday, so we were able to celebrate that with her as well. And then I'm losing track of the days, so it was 2 days ago. It's been a very busy week. Minister Gary Endesena-Jury, I don't want to, sorry.
Endesena-Jury.
You said it with me, thank you. Of public safety, his executive assistant, and then MP Bragastatos came here to HQ. We had a really good collaborative, I think productive conversation on our shared commitment to community safety. So we stayed for over an hour and heard the London perspective. Was really open to what we had to say. So we really appreciated him taking the time out of his day to come and visit us as well. And then, as you noted, we had members in Victoria at the CACP conference. It was absolutely fantastic conference, one of the best conferences that I've personally ever been to. So, and having an opportunity to network with other police leaders across the country and see how they're managing things happening in their neck of the woods was really, really helpful. And just on a note, in the last 24 hours, last night specifically, our members arrested 3 different people for impaired driving. And there will be messaging coming out through our corporate communications, just reminding the public the importance of not getting behind the wheel when you are impaired by alcohol or drug. And to brag a little bit, 2 of those arrests were by our members who saw something that they knew they had to pull a person over to further investigate. So it was a proactive arrest for 2. And then the third one was actually a member of the community calling into 911, which we encourage people to do as well. So we were able to take 3 impaired drivers off the street last night. So we want to continue with our work when it comes to traffic safety, and then also obviously impaired driving is a very big focus for us. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Acting Chief. Questions? Seeing none. The record. I told you, I was gonna try to keep it on time. Any new business? Seeing none, can I have a motion that the London Police Service Board adjourn the August 21st, 2025 open meeting? Moved by Vice Chair Branscombe, seconded by Member Stevenson. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Adjourned at 1:53 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone.
These are like questions.
Just enjoy